Hey, welcome into Two Daves and a Mic, Shelby High Golden Lions podcast. I'm DA along with Jakari Shell, Juice, better known as Juice to me. Um, we had, and to be fair, Jakari was at the East Rutherford High Brighton game tonight, so we'll get a little bit of report on that because East Rutherford is a team that Shelby could see in the playoffs down the road. Shelby was at home tonight against Cherryville. Juice, I'm going to tell you, Shelby took the opening kickoff and had to punt, and I thought, oh my goodness, like is Cherryville going to be? I mean, because they're having a good season. I think they had won 3 games coming into the night, and I thought, hey, they've got new helmets. They were wearing black helmets, and there was some design on the side, and I couldn't figure out what it was until I went down on the sideline. They've got cherries, like a little bunch of cherries on the side of their helmet. I mean, if you're going to wear black helmets and try to, go hard because getting away from maybe your past or whatever, where they've had those royal blue helmets with either a C or an Ironman on the side. So they're going to go black helmets and go, yeah, we're going to go hard. And then they put a bunch of cherries on the side. Anyway, they forced Shelby to punt on the first possession, and then after that, it was Katie bar the door.
Yeah.
And final in this one tonight, Shelby 62, Cherryville nothing. Running clock the entire second half. It was 42-0 at halftime. We did miss an extra point tonight, but it was on a bad snap. It was not on a missed kick. So Matthew Grenier and then the Ash kid came in and kicked the last couple. So big night for Land Farmer, became the all-time leading touchdown, passing touchdown leader for Shelby. And I'm going to tell you, going from about 2011, 12, somewhere in there to now, the last 13, 14 years, Shelby has had a throwing quarterback because they changed the offense with Coach Lance Ware and Coach Chris Emery as offensive coordinator. Went away from the wing tee, triple option stuff to the air raid.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a big number that Land posted tonight. I think 91 is the number now. He had
be more now because more conference games and
oh yeah,
deep in
yeah.
the playoffs.
He's gonna put a pretty high number up there for whoever's next to shoot at. That's for sure. He had 5 tonight, Jakari, all 5 to different receivers. He had one to Emmanuel Collins. He had one to J.J. Williams. He had one to Kendrick Raper. Oh, I'm sorry. He had 2 to J.J. Williams, so he didn't have 5 different receivers. I apologize. He had one to Roseboro as well. Calvin Ramsewer caught one from Kendrick Raper when Kendrick came in as the backup. And then tonight, unlike last week where we scored on the ground early, tonight Jonas Woods and Jalen Tate had the rushing touchdowns at the end of the scoring. So big night for Land Farmer, big night for the Golden Lions. Great night defensively tonight for Shelby as well. Held Cherryville to 38 yards of total offense, 27 on the ground on 27 carries, 11 passing yards for the 38 total. They had 8 first downs, Jakari, and only 38 yards of total offense, but 7 of those tonight were by penalty. So
they may get pizza now since they held a goose egg. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you remember those nights.
Yeah,
So
I definitely remember that. I used to try to sneak and steal pizza from the defensive guys and try to ask for it.
well, and the thing about it is in a lot of these games that are so one-sided, a lot of people are going to get to play, including your backups.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes your second and third guys are out there and may give up a touchdown late when the other team is still playing their starters because they're trying to, get as much as they can or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, shutout tonight, 62-0. And we got Stuart Kramer next, and Stuart Kramer is undefeated, Jakari. Can you remember since the beginning of Stuart Cramer? Because you were in school at some point. You were probably in like elementary school when Stuart Cramer became a school. And I think they've been pretty much bad the whole time. So
Yeah.
undefeated coming into the Shelby game. We may have a crowd next Friday night at Shelby because this game is at Shelby next Friday
Do
night.
you know who Stuart Cramer has played before Shelby?
I do not. I haven't looked at their schedule. I will look at that while you tell us about the East Rutherford win over High
All right, I
Brighton.
got you. I got you. So, as DA said, I was at the East Rutherford and High Brighton game. ER took the win 43-34. ER has a good running back. His name is Brendan Pinkerson. Had 4 rushing touchdowns and over 200 yards rushing. He's a really good running back. I mean, he was making a miss in open field, just getting in between the tackles during inside run, inside zone, and making it happen. Honestly, their defense was pretty solid in the first half. Forced 3 turnovers, 1 interception, and 2 forced fumbles. And also, in the second half, it got a little sloppy for their defense. They was missing a lot of tackles, which kept High Brighton in the game. High Brighton was running a lot of zone reads, which me and you was talking about before we started. High Brighton was running a different offense. They're now in shotgun and doing a lot of QB zone reads and actually trying to drop back and throw it. They had 2 passing touchdowns off drop backs. One was like a pop pass, another one was a go ball. They threw the first of his first score of the game. But honestly, as a whole, High Brighton, they had a good rushing attack though. They brought in like a backup running back, number 33. They couldn't bring him down or the quarterback. So I mean, it was a really good game. It was 43, like I said, 43-34. If Shelby does meet ER down the road, I think again Shelby has to just stop the run because ER was just one-dimensional tonight, trying to do some downfield passing at times, but just off connection with the quarterback and the receivers at times. And also, their offensive line wasn't holding up as much as they should have. But ER surprised me tonight. So I think if their defense locks in more on the missed tackles, I think they could have held High Brighton. It wouldn't have been so close if they would have had some tackles. Also, they had some special teams troubles.
Well, I know the night that we played Highland Tech and beat them 90-0, East Rutherford played somebody that night and beat them 84-8.
Yeah.
So they're putting a lot of points on the board this season. So, it hadn't been that long. It was just a couple years ago. East Rutherford did not field a varsity team, and they played a JV schedule only. And everybody was just like, wow, what a proud program that, has had some really good teams over the years. For them to basically not have a varsity football team was a big deal. So it's good to see them back in it. Now, it's not good to see them being good enough to beat Shelby in the playoffs, but it is good enough to see them. It is good to see them back in it. All right, looking up Stuart Cramer. So Stuart Cramer beat Forest View in the opener 34-12. North Gaston in game 2, 34-27. Beat Bessemer City 51-6 and is playing Highland Tech tonight. So pick your score there. It's going to be, if they beat Bessemer, if they beat Bessemer City 51-6, they're probably going to beat Highland Tech at least in the 60s, 70s to nothing, I would think. So Stuart Cramer going to be riding high. They hadn't played anybody, but they're going to be riding high coming into Shelby next Friday night, 4-0 on the season, and we'll see what happens with that. But again, the Golden Lions just way too much for this part of the schedule in their conference. Again, they got Stuart Cramer coming up next. And it looks like with the win that Lincoln had last week against Burns, that's probably the next game to circle on the calendar of being a, potentially competitive, potentially conference deciding type of game. But, I will say it looked like Cleveland County bounced back tonight. Burns was up big. I think they were in the 40s tonight. Kings Mountain was up big. Crest was off tonight. So it looks like after a 1-3 week for Cleveland County, which is a rarity in high school football, Cleveland County's kind of righted the ship, so to speak, and is 3-0 tonight. But again, competition has a lot to do with that. Last week you had Weddington Lincolnton, and Charlotte Catholic were the three teams that our guys in Cleveland County were playing and got beat. So you mentioned how much. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you. I was about to say. I wonder if the competition level is gonna kind of. I'm not gonna say fatigue those guys, but like when they do play a competition, like say for Lincoln or Burns later on in the season, like will they be in shape or will they be ready for? Just because deep off in the game, they're not really playing 4 quarters of football after second quarter. Like I mean, their guys are just done, and it's like, hey, like let's just try to develop our young guys, and just in case we do have to in the playoffs, if we do need these young guys to step up and fill in a role for the older guys, like hey, let's try to develop them and get them ready right now. But I just wonder if that's going to kind of play a role. Maybe it won't, but I think you just got to little bit wonder that at times whenever they play competition.
Well, I think that you're hitting on something there. I think part of that is a point that I've made several times over the course of time, which is in a conference that doesn't all field JV teams and you miss JV games, that's important to your long-term health of your program. And I think you made a point there. If you're playing till the end of the first half and then it's a running clock in the second quarter, which is now 3 games in a row for Shelby, Highland Tech, West Lincoln, tonight against Cherryville, 3 straight games where at halftime the score has been 35 points or more. And so the whole second half was a running clock. You're not getting that full competitive game like you're talking about. Like even East Rutherford and High Brighton tonight, that was a 43-34 game that went full 4 quarters that they had to be competing. And so on the downside of things, when you look at the playoff results for Shelby for the last 4 years, the losses that have knocked Shelby out of the playoffs for the last 4 years have been brutally lopsided scores. We got hammered by Burns. We got hammered by Reidsville. We got hammered by Monroe. And there was, I don't remember the other one, but I think the last 4 years when we have gone out big time. And that's not something that we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing, the crazy game at Forest. At Salisbury, where an onside kick, and everybody's arguing whether or not the onside kick went 10 yards before the kicker actually fell on it, and now that kind of stuff. I mean, we had some really brutal losses in terms of close, tight ball games where it didn't go our way at the end. But, getting drugged 42-0, I mean, that's not a Shelby way of losing in the playoffs. And that's been the way for the last few years. And that's, I think, has a lot to do, as we're talking about, with, not getting JV games, not getting full halves, not getting full games, not getting competition throughout the course of the season. I don't know. Maybe not. But
do you think also it kind of hurts that you can only schedule like 2 non-conference games? Like scheduling like back then. Like I think when I was a freshman, they scheduled South Point and Rock Hill when I was a freshman, and then you got AC Reynolds at times, and potentially like more schools that can help boost your strength of schedule and help that competition factor whenever you get into the playoffs or maybe deep off in the season that can just really just kind of find your identity as a team.
Well, certainly this year is the first year that we've only had the 2, with Kings Mountain and Crest starting the season, and then we go straight into conference, and that's the rest of the schedule. But as you mentioned, Crest and Kings Mountain have been on the schedule as non-conference games. AC Reynolds, traditional spot for the last 10 or 12 years probably in like that 3rd game. And then we've had some difficulty over the last, half dozen years of finding that 4th quality opponent. We had High Brighton on the schedule for a couple of years. COVID messed that up, and then we never got them back. We played Olympic one year, or a couple of years. I think we played Olympic. We did go down to South. We call them South Point A, not to be confused with South Point and Belmont, because they got the E on the end of point. down in Rock Hill. But we went down there. That was, I think that was Dax and those guys. I think that was their senior year, maybe.
Yeah.
That we went down there, and they had one of the Gilmore guys. And speaking of one of the Gilmore guys, I'm assuming the Gilmore quarterback at Gaffney that left was one of those Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore.
Oh, really?
I think his name was J-Ron Gilmore. He's the quarterback at Gaffney. He's a 4-star, already committed to Arkansas.
No, he decommitted from Arkansas.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I think he did it either earlier today or yesterday. That's what I saw on Twitter.
Well, he also transferred out of Gaffney, so I don't know what's happening there, but I think they were splitting time with somebody that transferred in, and he didn't like it, so he said, "I'm out of here." But that's anyway. Needless to say. All right, so let's go back and hit our big weekend. We talked about our boys from Tulane, Jack and Santana, and they got the job done against Duke last Saturday night. Big win for Tulane.
Yeah, as you said, they had Duke down like 24-3 at one point, and Mensah coming back to Tulane. He left in the offseason. I mean, NIL got poached by Duke, but I mean, Tulane quarterback had a great game on the ground.
111 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he put the team on his back on that win. But I mean, they have another high matchup this weekend, like against Ole Miss. They might get the job done because I know Ole Miss, their starting quarterback is down again, Austin Simmons, and they got to play the guy they transferred in from D2 Fair State, which he didn't play bad last week against Arkansas. So he's starting again, and I think Tulane is a 14.5-point underdog or something like that. But they may can get the job done.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
What about Clemson, Georgia Tech? We talked about that, said it would be close. Yeah. Georgia Tech pulled it out. What do you think about Clemson at this point?
Klubnik Klubnik is overrated. It needs to be said. The guys turns the ball over way too much for anyone's liking. Like last year, I had a segment on it, and last year he had 5 interceptions in 13 games, and in 3 games he has 3 interceptions. And I think the turnovers is just what's killing them. And it's offensive team, and I just think it kind of puts the defense put a bit of a bind because their turnovers last week kind of gave him in Georgia Tech territory, to where Georgia Tech either capitalized on field goals or scored a touchdown. So I just think if Clemson can clean that up, but I just think it's going to be hard for Clemson to get to the ACC championship now. Since Georgia Tech looks like a contender, you got Florida State, and you have Miami, and I think Clemson has to play Miami and I think maybe Florida State this year. I just think in order to get to the ACC championship, they probably have to win out, and it's going to be really hard.
Yeah, Clemson, a couple of weeks ago after Carolina started the way they did, I was thinking, man, they're getting Clemson early. That could be trouble. But now all of a sudden, Clemson 1-2, Carolina's 2-1. Yeah. They actually looked like they should have looked against Richmond maybe the week before against Charlotte, and certainly better than they did in that opener against TCU. But 41-6 last week, Carolina over Richmond. I know it's a lower level team, but at the same time,
Richmond's pretty good in the FCS too, so.
And they beat them like they were supposed to beat them. So that's a good win for Carolina. I'm looking forward to seeing now that they step up in competition. UCF is not a joke. We'll see what that is like this week. I think UCF beat Florida a couple of weeks ago. Now, again, Florida's struggling, so maybe that's not saying that much, but it'll be interesting to see. Sure enough. Any takes on the NFL, the Panthers? What do you think?
Oh my god,
it's bad.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize this, but they haven't had a winning season since 2017. I was a freshman in high school.
Isn't that something?
And I've graduated college, and we have yet to have a winning season.
But I saw a stat today. So the Philadelphia Eagles have won 19 out of 20, counting the Super Bowl. And the question of the day was, what's the last team to have won 19 out of 20? And the last team to have won 19 out of 20 was the 14-15 Carolina Panthers. That was the season that they won the last 5 of the 14 season, and then they won the first 14 of the 15 season on the way to the Super Bowl. So
I just don't know what's the answer for the Panthers to get better. We bring in Canales. I mean, he has a resurgence of Geno Smith career, Baker career, and we think we're gonna get it with Bryson. It seemed like Bryce just regressed at times, but also he looks really good. Just the throws he make in tight windows, and I don't know. I just think first off, I think Leggett has to go for starters. He just hasn't looked good, and it's just the defense is just awful. Maybe it's the personnel or the coaches. It's just really a tough time to be a Panther fan, and I think the Panther fan is just coming together and uniting just because of that 2014-2015 Super Bowl run. So I think that's what kind of gives the Panthers a little hope, but we're not looking too good.
Well, it's early, we will say that, but they're going to have something good happen for them, I think, or they're going to be in trouble. So we'll keep an eye on the Panthers as well. All right, Juice, that's going to do it for us tonight. Again, big win for Shelby, 62-0. We started talking about some other stuff because, I mean, in these games where it's 42-0 and a running clock and second half and that type of thing, it just balanced offense tonight, I think. Like I said, between Land and Kendrick, they threw for 281 yards. And then Jalen Tate had 11 carries for 97 yards. And then Jonas Woods, the freshman who's gotten some playing time, he had another 47 yards. So they were over 100 yards rushing, almost 300 yards passing, so like 410 yards of offense tonight for the Golden Lions. So good night for Shelby. And anyway, appreciate you guys. And Juice, appreciate you jumping on with me. I know it's late night, but I appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, anytime, man. I appreciate you for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you next week right here on the 2 Daves and a Mic Shelby Golden Lions podcast. Peace.